Okay, guys, we made it to Friday. My name is Lina. Friday is the day when people tell a little bit about themselves. So just to remind you, I am a full-time doctor. I still practice medicine. I do it now in the context of telehealth. I see patients on the phone. And that's because I run a ministry called Living with Power Ministries. We do a lot of things, but our big hats are the global work we do with Syrian refugees. We do a lot of medical work there. We also have a Hope retreat house. Basically, it's called the Hope Ranch, and it's a place where you can come and retreat with us. We've got silent retreats, we've got group retreats. We're building discipleship intensives and different things like that. So we just launched that. We're excited about it. I write books about God. My latest book, Fractured Faith, came out in September. This is my favorite drink, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. I have a little frog in my throat. I don't know the expression, but I grew up in Lebanon, so some of the expressions are lost on me sometimes. I'm Lebanese. I moved to the U.S., to Green Bay, Wisconsin when I was 15. So fully American now, but have a lot of, I was going to say bad habits from the past, but I don't know what they are, but like a horse in my throat as opposed to a frog in my throat. Anyway, here we go. Today is Power Minutes Friday. So Power Minutes are one of the things we do in this ministry. They're devotionals. I wrote them, and I hope they bless you. And they're meant to help us to apply biblical truth for everyday life, which is kind of a big mission in our ministry. So today's Power Minutes is called God of the Impossible. Our verse is Romans 4:21. Fully convinced that God was able to do what he had promised. Hey, do you really believe that God can do the impossible? Do you really believe he can do the impossible in your life? I find it easier to believe God's ability to perform the miraculous in other people's lives. It's when things get personal that I struggle to believe. It's when the waiting has lasted forever and impossible hits my own doorstep that I turn to cynicism for comfort. Many of our stories are not unlike our great-grandfathers of the faith. Abraham believed a promise and then nothing happened. Eventually, impossible came knocking on his door. Yet somehow, instead of hardening his heart in disbelief, Abraham chose to believe God's goodness even when it sounded ridiculous. He didn't do it perfectly, but he believed God with as little as a mustard seed of faith. Abraham was fully convinced that though Sarah's womb was as good as dead, God could still do the impossible in his life. And God did. Do you believe God for the impossible in your life? Or have you stopped believing? Listen, I find that I can fall into that trap, and God is challenging me to continue to believe. The verse that I read today is from Romans 4. If you want a dose of encouragement, you go to the second part of Romans 4 and you read about Abraham and how when he saw Sarah's womb as good as dead, he still was fully convinced that God would fulfill his promise, and God did. And that same God is the God we worship today. And so that doesn't mean God's always going to give us everything that we give him on a list and say, please do that. But it does mean that we have a faithful Father who knows what we need. And when he makes us a promise, he will fulfill it. And so let's ask him to help us dream again. Not things that we want, but things that he's created us for. And if you're not sure, like, hey, what am I supposed to do in this world? Listen, you keep leaning and ask him. He tells us to ask him, and he will show us great and mighty things that we don't even know. He's a God who loves to unfold mysteries to us. And so I love this God. That's why I want you to know him too. And so, hey, I've gone a little longer than usual today, but we've got 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, where I don't do Power Minutes. And so that's okay. I can eat up a little extra few seconds of your time, but just know I'm praying for you and praying that God will open your eyes to his goodness and revive your heart to believe in a fresh, deep, and truth-based way. I think let us do that. Let us not just believe for the sake of believing, but believe that which God has promised. All right? He will surely deliver. So have a great weekend. And if you need anything, direct message me, send me an email. I'd love to answer anything, any needs, prayer requests, or just praises. Share them with me. I'd love to rejoice with you. All right? Have a great weekend. See you again to Monday.